Happy Tuesday. Thanks as always for joining us. We're happy to have you with us on this Tuesday morning. Our Be Relentless webinar series continues this morning, and we're talking about marketing, social media, and probably the one platform that you either ignore or don't pay the attention to that it needs, and that is LinkedIn. We have Veronika Kubik from Hook and Ladder, as well as Tony Lamb here to talk to us about building your LinkedIn profile and getting a great one ready to go. You can devote some time to it in the next couple of weeks while we're still under stay-at-home orders. And just, it's another way to get things ready to go for when things pick up again. Veronika, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here today. And I'm really looking forward to taking you through the training. As we mentioned, Tony is also joining us today, and he's going to be monitoring the chat and jumping in at the Q&A session at the end. So today I'm going to be talking through how to create a LinkedIn profile for real estate agents, so people specifically in your industry. I'm sure you've all recognized the fact that people are spending a lot of time online these days since we're stuck at home and we're looking for new things to divert our attention. Social media is definitely, I think, the one place people go to looking to kill time, but also to stay connected with friends and family and the greater community. I know that I've actually been spending a lot of time online and on realtor.ca. I'm pretty much there every day searching for a home, looking for how prices are moving, because my husband and I are actually looking to buy. So just because there's a crisis, it doesn't mean that people aren't planning for their future. I think people are still looking for that light at the end of the tunnel when they're going to be able to continue to move forward in their lives. But aside from just being a place where we connect with our friends and family, social is a place where everyone in every industry is talking about the difficulties that they're having with all of the changes that are constantly happening. You know, every industry is going through something, and sometimes we're not sure how to react, and being connected with people in your industry, trading ideas, swapping stories, techniques, successes and failures is really important. So social media really helps us to remember that we're not alone in this, and that there are others who are experiencing the same roadblocks as yourself. And by being connected on social media and having that professional profile really built out, you know how to give that roadblock a detour so you can get back on track. So before we actually jump into today's content, I was kind of curious how everyone is actually currently marketing your business and your service at the moment. If you can enter into the chat box all the different types of marketing channels that you're currently leveraging. You can think of anything from the more traditional marketing like postcards and billboards to social media, Google, whatever you're using. So I preemptively wrote down some of the methods that I've seen real estate agents use in the past and also now. So we have our billboards, our radio and television, social media, and word of mouth. And as a result of COVID-19, I'd kind of like you to reflect on what you think will happen to each of these different marketing channels. Like, let's say, starting with billboards, do you think that the effectiveness of it will decrease or increase? So we assume that since there are less people outdoors, there are less people driving around, there are less eyeballs on those billboards, and that brings the effectiveness of it down. Direct mail, similarly, I live in Toronto. I used to receive a lot of different postcards and brochures for all of the different condos that are going up. I have since stopped receiving things for the past month. Direct mail has definitely decreased. Realtor booths, pretty self-explanatory. You can't really put them up anywhere because there's nowhere to go at the moment. Radio and TV, we know this isn't the most common method, so we assume that it'll probably stay the same. It's just a more expensive option. Newspaper as well, going down. People are looking for more faster pieces of information, especially since daily things are changing. They're not waiting for those newspapers, so subscriptions go down and people are less interested in reading them. Events and sponsorships, self-explanatory. There are no events, there's no sponsorships, nothing's happening. As I mentioned before previously, social media is definitely on the rise. We have seen, even through our own ads and work that we've been doing, that a lot more people are spending time on social media. Google as well. Like I said, I'm on realtor.ca, but I'm also on Google searching for the different platforms that I can look for, a house or to keep myself entertained. Email marketing, definitely on the rise. People have more time to read. They're looking for more things to do. So if you're actually subscribed to any e-newsletters, like I know I am, I'm definitely reading them a lot more now. And word of mouth. Now, word of mouth is actually a really interesting one because it can really depend at the moment. If you have a strong digital presence, then this process can actually go up. So if you think about it this way, when your digital presence is strong, it's a lot easier to have friends and family refer you, especially right now when a potential client can't walk into your office or actually meet you face to face. So those refers, they actually have somewhere to send a potential client to, whether it's a website or your LinkedIn profile. But if you don't have that website or you don't have that profile built up, but your competitor does, you lose that credibility and you lose business by the sheer fact that they're actually going to be a lot easier to get to online. So that's why it's so crucial, especially right now, to take the time to actually build up your profile online. Bottom left corner, that's me. I've been working in marketing for about 5 years now, and I've really spent the majority of that time working with real estate developers. This is actually the entire team. This is the Hook and Ladder team, and it was back in Christmas last year before social distancing existed. They're all awesome people. So currently I'm a marketing strategist and I've been with them for a little bit over a year. I'm based out of Toronto, but we have our head office in Calgary and we have another office in Vancouver as well. At Hook and Ladder, we work with real estate developers and other industries to implement sales funnels. It's a mix of social media marketing, Google ads, email marketing, and really understanding the audience and the buyer. Prior to this, I was working at Royal LePage Estate. It's a brokerage in Toronto in the Beaches area, and I was working as a marketing manager. And something I noticed working in real estate and working at the brokerage is that a lot of it still leans very heavily on traditional marketing, like the postcards and newspaper ads, and obviously referrals. And I found that the issue is that a lot of traditional marketing won't give you a lot of feedback about whether you're actually receiving a positive ROI for your investment. You can hope that it's working, but it's just as easy that somebody sees your listing somewhere else and then they come to you. So you don't actually know most of the time if what you're doing traditionally is working. So seeing this, I actually started to work with the agents at Royal LePage to help them start utilizing digital marketing. And the results were pretty clear that there really is a space for digital marketing when it comes to real estate. But something I did come across as well working with the agents there is that they were overwhelmed by the amount of options, which is totally fair. There are so many different platforms that you can use when you get started in digital marketing. Some are relevant to your industry and some are really less so. So it's really important to pick and choose which platforms you're utilizing. Never spread yourself too thin across too many platforms. It's really more important to focus on one or two that are really going to give you a huge benefit and that you can actually commit to. And LinkedIn, this one right here, is really one piece of the puzzle that's worth the time. It's a network that's meant for making professional connections and having your profile in top shape, sharing content, creating content, actively engaging in groups and conversation, all help position yourself as a thought leader in your industry. And people generally come to people who they see as thought leaders, as the people that they really want to trust and they know have the knowledge that can provide them with the information that they need. So with that, I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're actually going to cover today. So we're going to be talking about what LinkedIn is, why you should care about it, and what success on LinkedIn actually looks like and how to get there. Don't worry so much about taking notes in this presentation. We are going to send out this presentation as well as some really awesome resources that are going to help you build your LinkedIn profile and online presence. If you would like a copy of these resources though, we have the URL, at the bottom. So if you can actually put that in hldigital.ca/C21, It's going to take you to a form where you just put in your name and email address. So we'll be able to collect that, and then we can send you all of this information after the presentation is over. All right, so first question is, what is LinkedIn and why should you care about it? So LinkedIn has actually over 500 million users. I think it's about 546 million plus, and they get 2 new members who actually join every second in over 200 countries. Now, of those 500 million, half of them are active. That means half of those 500 million are actually logging in on a daily basis or monthly basis. Now, out of those who are active, only 1% are actually posting. They're posting content. And this is important because that means that you have a lot of people who are looking to consume content, but not a lot of people who are actually posting. So it's really a matter of supply and demand. There's a huge demand and there's no supply. And LinkedIn, unlike most social networks, is really meant for professional networking. So it's really designed to help make those business connections, share those experiences, those resumes, and to really become that thought leader in your industry. So there is a huge missed opportunity on LinkedIn. Kind of as they mentioned, people are on it, but they sort of neglect it. But today we want to take you through really how to build that LinkedIn profile and show you how to not neglect LinkedIn. So how many people are actually familiar on LinkedIn? You can just post in the chat box. They'll let me know. I'm just kind of curious how many people actually are on LinkedIn at the moment. Leigh, I don't know if you can let me know how many people have commented.
Usually a little bit of a delay. I can tell you from my experience with agents, a lot of people maintain some sort of profile to have their headshot just on there, but they're not actively taking part and posting on their LinkedIn channel.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the most common thing that happens to LinkedIn. And I admit in the beginning, I sort of fell into that same where I just had it, but I wasn't utilizing it. For those who are new to LinkedIn or who are in that state, this is definitely going to help you kind of take that LinkedIn profile a bit further, or actually a lot further. And for people who are actually actively on LinkedIn, I'm sure there are a number of you who post or who are on LinkedIn on a regular basis. I want to be clear that what we're delivering today isn't just about setting up your profile, but it's really about how to kind of take it to that next level. So it is relevant for you as well. And LinkedIn is an iterative process. I go in about every month and really make sure that it's up to date and all of the content on there makes sense and that my profile is really in great shape. So what does success on LinkedIn look like? LinkedIn actually has their own definition, and if you set up a profile on LinkedIn, you have most likely actually achieved this all-star status. It takes you through this process when you originally sign up, so it's very, very easy to achieve. But if you really want to make an impression on potential clients and build your local business, you need to become a thought leader. And a thought leader is someone who's really recognized as an authority in their field, and they're generally sought after and often rewarded because they have knowledge that they share with the online community and with the community in whole. Now, I know that the concept of being a thought leader is a daunting term. I get that, but because we don't think of ourselves as thought leaders. We just think of somebody that has knowledge, but I want you to think about the fact that you're an agent, you have clients, and you have sales, and you have all of these things under your belt. Your clients trust you because you have knowledge that they don't. So you have all of this information that you can share and you offer it one-on-one with ease. The challenge is really releasing that knowledge to a wider audience, and in this case, socially. So that's what I'm going to help you with today, because once you release that knowledge, you help others and you help yourself by actually getting more business. So there's 3 steps to actually becoming a thought leader on LinkedIn. The first is your profile, and we're going to take you through each step of your profile and really how you should be filling it out and why it's important. And I want to stress that it is important to fill out every section of your profile. Don't leave anything blank, because if people come and they see that, okay, you kind of only did half of it, they may start to assume that when they work with you, you're going to skip steps with them. So it is really important to fill out all of your profile and not just your headshot, cover image kind of thing. The second is outreach. Outreach is when you're reaching out to more people. So that's when you start connecting with people on LinkedIn. And the last step is the content. I've spoken a little bit about the fact that there's not a lot of content on LinkedIn. So this is really where you have that opportunity to shine and share the content and the knowledge that you have. So step one is the profile. So the first thing that people see when they come to your profile is your cover image and your profile photo. I've taken this image actually from Caleb Clark, who is one of the founders of Hook and Ladder. And as you can see, his header here is him presenting to a client. So you have an idea that this person is in front of clients quite often. He looks confident. He looks like he knows what he's saying. And he also has a little bit of information here about what he believes marketing is and what marketing actually is, as well as he has his profile picture here, which is nice. It's actually on a little bit of a tilt. I don't know if you can tell, but when you think about how kind of humans understand each other physically, when it's a little bit on a tilt, it looks a little bit more friendly. So add all of these things in. Don't just leave LinkedIn with that blue networking thing that shows up when you don't have those images in there. Make sure that you add a cover image and make sure it's communicating an image that you actually want to portray. Maybe it's you with the first house that you sold, or maybe it's you giving a talk at your brokerage or to a larger Century 21 audience. It's a really great opportunity to add branding as well. So I know for sure the Century 21 would most likely have LinkedIn profile banners that you could actually use. So you could even just get it from that if you don't want to have to create your own branding. But the point is, don't just leave it blank. And when it comes to your profile photo, your photo should take up 60% of the frame. And it should be a current photo, so no catfishing. Make sure that it's a photo of you as you are now, not a photo from 20 years ago. People should know what you look like. They don't want to know what you looked like previously. And because if you ever meet them in person, there's going to be kind of a discrepancy of what they've seen and then when they meet you. And also address to the expectations of your desired audience. I know in real estate, it tends to be a very professional industry. And I know a lot of you would have headshots already done. Utilize those and just make sure that you're dressed. You would never wear a hoodie to a client meeting. So it's the same for LinkedIn. Dress for the audience you're looking to reach out to and to capture. The next is your contact details. Here's a little drop if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn or via email. But keep your contact details updated and make sure that the email listed is the one you want people to reach you at. Down here, I have my email for Hook and Ladder. When you sign up for LinkedIn, whatever email you signed up with, it will default to. So make sure this is up to date and is the email you actually want potential clients or other members to reach you at. Also, if you go into your contact info and you click on this little button, there's an option for website and there's a drop down that says other. And under that, you can actually put a little bit of information about what you do and what your website is, as I have here, building real estate funnels. In LinkedIn, one of the key things is anytime you have space to build put in information, you should have it in there. It's really important to utilize all of the characters and all of the space that you have available. So your headline. Your headline is really the first opportunity to tell people what you're all about. They're going to come in, they're going to see your profile, they're going to see your image, and then they're going to see what do you actually do. I have, my marketing strategist, which is the position that I have at Hook and Ladder, but it's key not to just talk about what you do, but also the niche and what you can really bring forward to the people you're trying to reach out to. So here, we know I do digital advertising, but also I specifically build real estate sales funnels. So you don't want to just describe, who you are and what you do. You want to contain a benefit to the viewer. And you want to use keywords that people who are looking for you might actually need when it comes to your services. And if you can always add in more than one thing, which is when you can use these vertical bars or commas in order to separate each portion of it. Some tips and tricks that I really want you to look out for, because if you've ever looked through the different LinkedIn profiles that are out there, you've probably seen this. Avoid symbols. They do make your headline stand out, but really not in a great way. Never use all uppercase levels. If you want to use uppercase just for one specific word, or there's something you want to stress, that's fine. But having everything in all uppercase, it really kind of is like a kid shouting, like, look at me, look at me. It just doesn't, it's not very professional, and it looks a little needy. But also have fun with your headline. If you have a sense of humor, you can add it in there. One of my favorite headlines I've seen is this: internationally known to rock the microphone. It tells me that this person does a lot of speaking engagements. They're most likely good at it. It's something that they really want people to know. So you can have some fun with your headline, but really just make sure it's not just saying real estate agent. Talk a little bit about, you know, who you are, what you do, and what your niche really is. Going on from there, we have the about section. And I cannot stress how important this section really is. Your about section is that first place where you can really tell people what you're about, how you got into what you got into, and what you can actually deliver to them. I really suggest using a narrative format, telling a story. It's a lot easier to read. I also suggest breaking it down. Don't have just a giant block of text. It's really hard for people to read, especially online. You want to make it easy for people to follow the flow. As you can see in mine, I've got, you know, how I got into digital marketing, what did I do now for real estate developers, and then also at the very bottom, you'll see here a call to action where I'm asking people to send me a message if they would like to connect. If you're going to be taking people through the story of who you are and what you do and what you can do for them, don't leave them hanging at the very end. You should have call to action and let people know how to reach out to you, whether it's to call you, to email you, to connect with you on LinkedIn. It is really important to make sure that you're telling people how to contact you. Also, inject your personality into it. Again, if you have a sense of humor or if you are more business oriented, sorry, then make sure that you have that in there. You can really shine in this section and really tell people what you're about. So don't be afraid of it, and don't just leave it a sentence or a paragraph. Really tell people, you know, what you do and what you can do for them. The next section, is current and past experience. And here it's important that you actually fill it out. Don't just put a title in. This is where you can really showcase your accomplishments. I know at Royal LePage, they had a yearly award ceremony, and within the brokerage, there was actually a monthly award ceremony where the top agents would be awarded. If you have something similar at your brokerage or at Century 21, you will most likely have images from it and video. You can add that at the bottom. You can really showcase your accomplishments and what you've done within your time and within your career. So really, it's an opportunity to, again, showcase just how professional you are and just how much you know about your industry. And when you add in your current and past experience, if you've moved from an agent to like a broker, or if you've become a co-manager for one of the brokerage offices, don't just edit this out and change it. Add that you've actually continued your professional development. It looks really good, and it tells people that you're constantly moving up. Also, just as a side note, you don't have to go all the way back to, you know, when you were 15 years old and had a lemonade stand. Make sure that the experiences that you are writing down are current and they're relevant for the type of people that you're trying to reach out to. The next step is your education. Education, when I go on LinkedIn, I see that people sometimes have it filled out. Sometimes they have like blank spaces in there. Education is important. I know that as we move further on in our careers, we tend to think it is less relevant. But this is one place that you can really connect with people that you have something in common with already. You have a common ground. If you went to the University of Toronto and someone you see online that you're interested in connecting with went to University of Toronto, you already have some commonality, and that makes it a lot easier for you to connect, for them to refer, and for you to network with them. So make sure you have your education listed, also because it is an amazing accomplishment. So it's something worth actually having there. And if you didn't know this, when you actually go into your education, you can find alumni within the specific years of when you graduated or whenever you want to check, and you can actually see where they work and live. So they're really great to start building your network and start adding them to your network. So you start building that all of those professionals around you. The next step is your skills and endorsements. So when you first build your LinkedIn profile, it's going to ask you what your skills are. If you already have a LinkedIn profile, you will most likely have already filled this out. The key thing is that have the top 3 skills that are most important to you listed. You can actually edit it and change it. So if you're in real estate, you most likely want to have real estate or communication or something along those lines as your top skills. And you want to get endorsed by people for having those skills. The easiest way to get endorsements is to actually give endorsements. You can always ask, of course. And once you have a certain amount, I believe it's 100, there's the same 99 plus. And if you have over 100 people saying that you're really good at something, chances are you're really good at something, because you have so many people who have actually endorsed you and said that this is a skill that you really have. So this is super important. Make sure you have it filled out, but make sure those top 3 are the ones that you really want to showcase, because those are the top 3 that people are going to see when they come to your profile. The second is, not the second, but the next step is recommendations. So if you've ever had a reference letter written, a recommendation is a similar concept. You can get it from current peers, past peers, previous employers, people that you've worked with. Recommendations are an excellent testimony to who you are. And I know that especially for real estate agents, while you can be friends with agents, you're also competitors at the same time. So I think if you get a recommendation from another agent who's well respected in the community, that's a really big boost to showcasing who you are and how amazing you are at what you do. So after you've actually built out your profile, the next step is your outreach. So you'll have everything built out. Your profile is going to be in awesome shape. Everything is in there. You've completed all the steps. The next part is really to start that outreach and start building those networks and start building those connections. So one of the most underutilized and untapped opportunities in LinkedIn is actually groups. So I did a simple search where I went into groups, looked at real estate, and there's over 22,000, actually close to 23,000 different groups specifically for real estate. And you can narrow that even down more to maybe the region that you're in or the type of real estate that you do. If you work in more commercial side rather than residential, or if you're more interested in real estate and investing, you can narrow those groups down, join those groups, connect with people, network, post, talk. And as I previously kind of said, like everyone in every industry, especially in real estate, is going through something where things are constantly changing. Those groups are a great resource for finding out what other agents are doing and what has worked for them, what hasn't worked for them. So really tap into those groups and utilize them. They're worthwhile. There's so much information on there that would really be beneficial to everyone. And then you can also do individual connections. So when you're sending out, to potential like past peers or people you went to school with, you can start building out your connections. So you have past colleagues, industry leaders that you admire, that's definitely a good one to reach out to. And then past clients and connect with them, build your network up that way. Make sure that when you are connecting, you're not just going like connect and then not sending a message with it. Always send a connection message. It's a lot easier to accept an invitation when you know why somebody's reaching out to you. Some of the things you can think about when you're doing that is, have you met them? Why do you want to actually connect with them? You can always give a compliment. Compliments always go a long way. Be thoughtful and be concise. Those are different ways that you can kind of think about when you're messaging someone. I gave an example of someone I wanted to connect with that I had worked on a project with, talked about where I had met them, and also that, I just wanted to keep in touch and hopefully work together soon. So it's simple, to the point. You don't have a lot of space, but make sure that you do include that message when you're connecting with them. So the next step is actually content. And this is where we're going to be talking about kind of why content is so important. And that's because people buy from people who they like, they know, and they trust. When you're putting out content and you're putting out information out there that you know that you are knowledgeable in, and people see it, and you start to communicate with them, you start to reply to the comments they may leave in your posts, they start to like you, they start to know you, and they start to trust that you know what you're talking about. And that's really what's essential, is that people will buy from people they like, they know, and they trust. So content, it seems really easy, but that's honestly, I think, why most people stop. If you have a plan, it makes it a lot easier to stick to. The suggestion I've always made to agents is, I know that you're busy, so find a cadence that works for you. Just like I said with the platforms, don't be on every single platform. It's also about finding a cadence that you know that you can stick to, whether that's 3 posts a week, so smaller posts, like I have one down here as an example of something I posted, to 1 article a month. Articles are longer form. They're about 40,000 characters. If you can keep up to that, that's great. People will know when to expect your content and how frequently to expect your content. So that also makes you seem more reliable. So really find a cadence that works for you. And just think about it ahead of time. What one thing that you can write about? What is one video that you can post during the month? Videos are not that terrifying, but they are a fantastic way to easily create content, and people tend to watch videos more than they will read a very long post. Our colleague recently did just a talking head video. That's just when he's spoken to the screen about something that he had been thinking about, that he has knowledge. And it's a similar thing. You can talk about the trends that you're seeing in the city you work in, or maybe something that you came across that was a difficulty that you overcame. It's a really awesome way to connect with people, and your network will see that, and they'll start to understand that you're there and that you're posting, and that you really have knowledge that you want to share and you want people to engage. When you are doing posting, tag companies, tag people, add pictures, and most importantly, engage with comments. If you're putting an article out there, you're putting a post out there and people are commenting on it, don't just leave it alone. Comment back to people, because you're going to be building that connection again, and you're going to be building that trust around you and that network around you. So with all of that, once you have these articles and those posts and you've built up your profile, that's when you really start to be seen as a thought leader. And again, bringing this back to the beginning of the presentation, it sounds daunting, but if you do everything that we've set out today, you'll really be ahead of the game in positioning yourself as a leader in the industry and as a thought leader. It starts with your profile. It starts with leveraging articles, doing posts, joining groups and being active, and nurturing your contacts. And again, that's commenting back on posts and talking to people. I took actually Michael Meadler's profile from LinkedIn just to show you that, he has a lot of what we've discussed today. And it's, I hope, not as scary now that we've gone through it, but he has the header with the Century 21 logo. He has a great profile image. His top 3 endorsed skills are actually real estate transactions and management. He's got articles that he's posted. He does posts as well. You do all of those things and you're really going to be you're going to get to that place where you really can be seen as a thought leader in your industry. So that is the end of the presentation, but I would really love to send you a copy of this deck, as well as give you a 12-step LinkedIn action plan to help you craft that all-star profile. And I just want to point out that this is a 40-minute summarized version of LinkedIn, but as you imagine, there is definitely a lot more to know about it. So, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, and we're thinking of putting together a workshop where we actually be able to take people through the profile step by step and help them support them with this. So, please let me know, and please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn so we can know if there's interest, and then we can arrange that. And that's it.
Great, thank you, Veronica. We do have one question already from Mir. Is an article a blog post from my personal website?
Well, a blog post is something it's separate on the website, but if it's something relevant, yeah, you could, I'm sure you could take that. You have to stay within the characters, but if you can kind of repurpose it a little bit for LinkedIn, as long as it's relevant for that industry, it is something for certain that you can share on LinkedIn.
And is there a magic number of people that should be on your LinkedIn profile?
I believe it's, and Tony, correct me if I'm wrong, it's 500 plus.
Yeah, the magic there is just that basically LinkedIn chose a number arbitrarily. 500 is when you get more than 500, it just shows you 500 plus, right? So, say I have 1,000 LinkedIn connections, it just shows 500 plus. So it's kind of like a perception thing, right? If you have 200 followers or 200 connections, somebody goes into LinkedIn, they go, okay, well, this person's connected to 200 people. But if they see 500 plus, they know you're as connected as you can be from what I can see, kind of thing, right? So it's kind of it is a perception thing more than anything.
Yeah.
And the question that I have, you talked a little bit about how the About Me section is so important, but you want it to be relevant. How often should you be setting a reminder to go and revisit this? Is an annual update enough?
Well, I go into my LinkedIn, honestly, on a monthly basis and make sure it's updated. I think that let's say if you change industries, or if you change potentially careers, or something has changed where your niche is focused, then I would say to go in and update your About section. But once you have it really tight and it is what you want to present to people, you don't have to be going in there on like a weekly basis and updating that About section.
Yeah, I'll tag on to a comment on that question. It's kind of like, if you're doing it right, you're getting a very consistent stream of visitors to your LinkedIn profile. It's kind of similar to a website visit, right? So let's say you're getting, one brand new visitor a day, right? So 30 in a month. They come to your profile, and for the most part, somebody visiting your profile will always check out your bio, right? And they probably are visiting you for a reason. They're visiting you because they're interested in maybe a service that you're doing, maybe you're referred, maybe it's just a social post that kind of caught their eyes, like, oh, interesting, they're talking about real estate in Vancouver. I'm in the market and buying something in real estate in Vancouver, right? So naturally, they would open up your LinkedIn profile, they'll go and read through your story, and then if the profile is doing its job, it's going to make them feel, okay, well, this might be somebody that I want to follow or connect with or have a conversation with. So you think about, how often to update that LinkedIn profile is really about, well, do you still think that profile that you have is still relevant to the things that you do? So for example, if you've shifted your market from, let's say I'm from Vancouver myself, but see a realtor in the Richmond area decided that, I'm going to go and target the high ticket, 2 million plus properties. I'm going to focus and marketing myself as a realtor that specializes in doing something like that. Is that reflected as part of the profile, for example, right? So that's, the frequency is just about being relevant, about speaking, in the niche that you're focusing on, if that makes sense.
We do have another question about using LinkedIn for advertising. Besides the things that you've already mentioned there, is there anything you can recommend or any guidance you have around using it for advertising?
You can certainly use LinkedIn for advertising. Just keep in mind, LinkedIn tends to have a higher cost associated with it because it's really more for professionals. So I wouldn't recommend like advertising a listing on there. It's definitely not the place to be doing it. That's more for, Facebook, Instagram. those kind of platforms. LinkedIn's really about that professional side. You can do it, but I would be wary. We've used LinkedIn a few times in our ads in the past, and it definitely has a higher cost associated with it, and sort of a lower, depending what you're offering, like a lower ROI.
Yeah, if I were to tag onto that, basically, you got the world's largest advertising platform and engine, which is Facebook. The second largest one is Google, right? Those two guys are where the general public are at. They have a more robust technology which allows you to kind of target those ads in a much more cost-effective way. Whereas LinkedIn is niche, is that it allows you to target people by company, by title, right? By occupation, by years of experience, those kind of things. And if you believe that your service and products has that niche, then perhaps you would consider that for LinkedIn. So for us, for example, when we work with a wealth management client who's looking for somebody who's like, a manager of a private equity fund, LinkedIn is the place. You don't have a better place to do that. Whereas if you're looking for somebody who's going to buy a one-bedroom condo, I'd say that's probably not the right place, right? We'd probably be going back to the Facebook and Google, because you're targeting by occupation and title is not gonna really help you to target the people you're looking for, and you're paying a premium for it because that's what LinkedIn does, right? They charge you a premium to be able to target by those occupations, but those occupations aren't really the people that you're trying to sell the units to.
Yeah, it's like going back to when I said, like, there's a lot of platforms out there. You have to be you have to know which ones that you really need to be on. It doesn't make sense to do everything across all platforms, but really pick and choose which platforms are meant for you and for your industry.
This is a great question. Do LinkedIn posts have to always be serious posts, or can you tell a story about your brand using LinkedIn? I love this question.
Yeah. No, it does not always have to be a serious post. I get that. I had similar questions when I kind of first started really getting active in LinkedIn. No, they don't always have to be. As long as it's something that, like, you just have to remember that LinkedIn isn't meant for, talking about your cat. It's more for about what's in your industry or your brand or your story, or something that you think is, even inspirational or aspirational. So it doesn't always have to be serious. And again, you're allowed to showcase your personality on LinkedIn. You don't just have to pretend you're a button-up executive. You're allowed to showcase yourself.
Yeah, it's so for social media, right? With social media, generally our goal is that we want to turn a scroll, right? People on the phone, they're scrolling. We want to turn that scroll into a stare. We want them to stop. And there's two ways of doing it. It's either you're offering information that people are looking for, or you're offering entertainment, right? Which is the not so serious type of a post. With LinkedIn specifically, but even on Facebook and Instagram or whatnot, it depends on how comfortable you are in terms of being entertaining or telling jokes or whatnot. That's which generally is a little bit harder to balance as compared to offering value-adding information. So that's why we usually start there, and then we slowly kind of walk across the line and see the response, and then if it worked really well, then we start to do more of it.
Yeah.
Next question: does LinkedIn have an algorithm like Facebook to get better visibility?
Yes, yeah, sorry, I had to think about that for a second. It does have a similar, if you start to post more and you start to be more active on LinkedIn, your posts will start to appear actually more on people's feeds as you go through. So it does have a similar algorithm. Also, something I forgot to mention, but it's really important, when you're doing posts in LinkedIn or articles and you use hashtags, LinkedIn also uses hashtags. So when people are searching for those specific ones, your posts and your articles will also show up there. So definitely the more active you are, the more connections you make, the more you're commenting, the more you're posting, the more people will see your content. Okay, so it has a similar algorithm for the people that you're connected to.
It's that's Veronika. I don't know if you know of some of these little tricks at the back end kind of thing, but these are kind of the techie guys. What basically what we do, right? Like with the social team here, is that there's a number of things. Obviously, naturally, from a social platform standpoint, they are trying to serve relevant, high engagement content to their users, right? So generally speaking, when they first serve your content out to a smaller sample of people and people generally like or comment on it, the algorithm dictates that, okay, well, this is a high quality content. Let me serve it to more people. But it also has more stats that goes into it. So for example, if you think about LinkedIn, actually same thing with YouTube and Facebook or whatnot, their whole intent, if you think about them, is that they are a business that makes money based on running ads or membership or whatnot. So they make money based on retaining attention within their platform. And so a lot of their algorithm kind of reflects upon those motivation behind it. So for example, if you go and make a post of a video that you shot of yourself with an iPhone and you upload directly onto LinkedIn, versus let's say you upload that video onto YouTube and you post about your YouTube link, it actually has an impact because they go, well, this post is directing my traffic away from my platform, whereas the same post of the same video, but that's uploaded directly natively in LinkedIn, is keeping attention on LinkedIn. That plays difference as well. There's obviously a lot of things from an algorithm standpoint, and we're just a black box, but there's a lot of interpretation from different marketing professionals and say, we believe these are the things. But for the most part, yeah, there's certainly algorithm, and as a digital marketer, we tend to do things, we test, and then we based on the data, we take corresponding actions to maximize that, if that makes sense.
When is premium worth it, or is it worth it?
It depends what you're planning to do on LinkedIn. I've had a premium account, and I do think that it is quite beneficial. Currently, I actually use Sales Navigator because I do a lot of outreach, more B2B than B2C. So it is definitely something that you can invest in. But if you really want to find out if it's worth, they also generally give 1 month free. So that is one way to actually test out premium, just as a little side note.
What are the extras you get with premium then?
You get more messages that you can send out, more connections that you can actually make on like a daily basis. You can go to see people's profiles, and if you're not connected with them, like you're in like third connection, you can actually see what's in there. If you're looking for a job, it also tells you a lot of information about like payroll and salary and all of this extra. So that's also, side note, I know none of you are looking for a new job. It's just that is something that you get with LinkedIn Premium. Yeah. Okay,
and our final question, is there a way to make LinkedIn not see your circle for privacy reasons?
Not that I know of, no. I'm not sure of any way that you can actually put that privacy setting so low, because the whole point is if you're connected to someone and you're a second connection, people should be able to see that, because that means that they have you in common. So it's meant for that networking. It's not meant for that privacy. I know that in like Facebook, you can have privacy settings, but for LinkedIn, the whole point is that business networking. So they really wouldn't, I don't think they would allow that.
And what about all of these, you can go into privacy settings and play around with them though, correct?
You can play around with them to a certain degree, yes, but I don't think you can get rid of your networking opportunities for people.
Okay, good to know. Veronika, Tony, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it. We're getting a bit heavy on time, so thank you very much. I know you've given people a lot of things to do and a lot of ideas of where they can pay attention to their LinkedIn profile. So thank you very much. And for everyone, we apologize for the technical problems at the beginning. We will be putting this up on Facebook and on our YouTube channel. So if you miss something, you will be able to access it. And then tomorrow we will be back at the same time. We're talking to Catherine Carr from Century 21 down in the US tomorrow. She's going to talk about strengthening your ties in the community during the virus. So we look forward to seeing you then. We will be back here tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone.